G'day and welcome to another Space Engineers tutorial. This time, we're going to have a look at the ways that you might be able to improve the player versus environment experience in Space Engineers. Space Engineers has a few ways you can add a little bit of extra challenge to the game. And you can do this after you've started your survival scenario, so you can start out with things being fairly easy and then start adding things in later. Or you can start them right out from the gate. The obvious ways to add a little bit of challenge are to do some things that I'm not a huge fan of. And that's adding wolves and adding meteor storms. Neither require much creativity to deal with them. But it's fairly simple to do this to a game that doesn't already have them in. You simply select your save game, edit settings, change your environment hostility to add the meteor showers, or add your wolves in the advanced world settings. Not the most exciting challenge. Right now, half the time it seems the wolves just run past me anyway when I've added them in. So what are some easy ways we can add some more interesting content? Well, I think one of the best ways, without going into mods or without going into scripting, is to simply use the enemy bases that already exist in the easy Earth start scenario. You can make blueprints of these bases and then copy them into your normal save. Let's go through how to do that. Start off with a new game, custom game, easy start Earth. Set your game mode to creative. Go into advanced and add enable spectator and click OK. And then start your world. We want spectator because when we're going up to the bases to try and blueprint them, it's a bit easier if we don't get shot while doing it. It also means that the bases won't spawn any AI controlled drones, so they won't accidentally damage themselves either. So you get a clean blueprint to take. Okay, now that we've loaded in, the way that I find easiest to get these blueprints is press F8, which takes you into spectator camera. The spectator cam in the Easy Earth Start conveniently starts right near the ore handling facility. All you need to do to make a blueprint of this is have your crosshair on it and press Ctrl B. That'll bring up your blueprints menu as you press it. And the blueprint will show up as Pirate Base Small Mark 1_9. You can then also head over to the Space Pirate District headquarters. To get there quickly, just scroll up on your mouse wheel while in spectator, and you can go much faster. And then set yourself up with a decent shot for the blueprint. And then simply press Ctrl B again. This one shows up as Pirate Base Large Mark II. Now that we've got those blueprints, we can take them into our world. Quit out of that. Head to our load game menu. Select tutorial system or whatever your save game name is. Go to edit settings. Make it creative. Go to advanced, make sure spectator is enabled, and also enable copy paste, as that will allow you to place multiple bases a little more easily. Once we've done that, we can then load this system up. Now that we're in, we can hop into spectator view and head off into the distance. The way that these bases work is that the antenna sets the type of spawn by the way the antenna is named in the base. This means you could actually create a spawner very easily with simply a power source and a correctly named antenna. I'm showing you how to do it with the pre-made bases. so that you've got something that might be a little bit of interesting content if you've never explored these before. So we'll press F10. We'll go for our small Mark 1.9 base. Double click on it, then press Ctrl V to paste it in. Press B to level it off, and then make sure it's somewhat intersecting the voxels, just so it doesn't drop to the ground and get utterly destroyed. And then we've got our base. You might notice that this base is currently blue. Whenever I've tried to paste these in, they always come in as owned by me. So we can press Control Space to teleport our player to the spectator camera. Press F6 to return to the player. Unfortunately in spectator cam you cannot interact with the grids in the sense of getting into their control panels. So to be able to change this over to being owned by the pirate faction, we need to actually interact with it. Easiest way to do that is either the control panel on one of these turrets, or there's a button panel over on the landing pad which you can use as well, just here. So we go into this, and then we can see the way that this antenna is named. This is actually the antenna, mining operations site. So if we want to create our own base that's going to spawn nasty drones, all we need to do is provide an antenna named this way with power, and it will spawn drones at the same frequency and of the same type as this mining site. We can equally name it the same as the pirate headquarters building and its antenna to get that severity or difficulty of drones, and with the ones in space, etc, etc. There's ways to mod extra ones in, mod in your own drones and things like that, but that's really out of the scope of what I'm looking at here, and also, to be honest, just a little bit beyond my skill level. So we'll just go past that, and this is a nice way that I like to add a bit of extra PvE content to my games. So, back to what we were on about. Where we've accessed the terminal in our pirate base, we then select everything with Control A, and transfer ownership over to the Space Pirates. You can't do this in survival, so you have to be in creative mode to change ownership over this way. So we change it to the Space Pirates, select yes, and then we get the heck out of here because we're about to be attacked. Yep, there's the fleeting rival. Now, if we use our spectator camera, again F8, we can run back to our base, teleport back here, and hopefully we're beyond the range of that fleeting rival wanting to attack us. When we were in that antenna menu, the antenna's reach was set to 6 kilometers. That's the range at which you will trigger the spawn of one of these ships, which I think is actually heading off to attack me. Yes, it is. While we're in spectator camera, and once we've changed ownership of one of these bases over to the Space Pirates, we can place multiples of them by simply pressing Ctrl C and plopping down another one. And it's already owned by the Space Pirates. This is why it's convenient to enable copy paste. You only need to change ownership of one of them, and then you can place multiple within range of each other. You could sort of set it up as a final boss battle where you've got to try and assault all of these bases at once. You could use this as a way to test how well your ships can handle fighting against multiple opponents at once. There's really no end to how you could do it. Yeah, the AI isn't particularly fantastic. It has a tendency to run into hard objects that it really shouldn't, and other silly things like that, but it's still a lot better than a wolf or a meteor. A lot more exciting. So now that we've seen how to place those in, and I've explained a little bit about how to build your own, let's actually build our own. Let's go out to the desert here, teleport ourselves in, hop back into our suit. all we need to do to create this base is get a small reactor and an antenna. Place down the small reactor, put the antenna on top, and then access the control panel. If we rename this antenna to mining operation site, and then change ownership to the Space Pirates. So we've now created a pirate spawner with only 2 blocks. If we name it any of the names that are within the PirateAntennas.sbc file, and I'll explain where this file is in the description, and I'll also put in the description the different antenna names, as well as a little bit of information about them, so that if you struggle to actually access this file or don't really want to go through that, you can at least use a few different names within your own setups, within your own scenarios that you want to create for your survival experience. In a future video, I fully intend to go through some of the better PvE mods that I've come across. And if you've come across any yourself, I would love to hear about them. 1, because I want to be able to play with them. And 2, so that I can help share them with more people and how to set them up, how to get the most out of them, etc. And there we go. As you can see, it can take a little while for the first drone to spawn. But even with this very, very simple system, it works like a charm. It's also incredibly easy to change one of your own bases into a drone base. Just change the name of the antenna and change ownership when you're in creative mode. And there you go, you've got a drone base. Now that we've got a whole bunch of spawners set up around our base, including this very, very basic one, we need to get back into survival mode. That's incredibly easy for us to do. Let's just put our astronaut back at our base. Quickest way possible is using the spectator camera. Alright, so he's back at base. So we save the map. And we head back to the menu. As we did before, just reverse all our settings changes. So we edit our settings, we turn us back to survival, make sure that we don't have copy paste, which should always get switched off anytime you change over to survival mode. And away we go. Load it up, and we'll be back in survival with some new, more interesting enemies that we can take out with our rovers or our flyers, or really whatever we want to try and do to take them out. It's a much more interesting challenge than taking on wolves. Personally, I kind of find them a bit fun. There's an extra bonus that you should be aware of with these drones that exist in the game already. Most of them carry a small amount of platinum. So if you really have the patience, you could attempt to get to space with ion thrusters from a planet by basically farming these drones. It would be an incredibly slow process, and you'd probably be better off just getting up there with hydrogen, but it would be doable. But if you're not ready to get to space, that small amount of platinum can give you the top tier hand tools, which can be very, very useful. Well, there you have it. A way to add some moderately entertaining PvE content to Space Engineers, and even adding it into a scenario you've already started playing. Big things to remind you of that I've said throughout is the antenna range. You probably don't want to place your base within that. Otherwise, you'll be constantly suffering attacks unless you go and destroy that base. That could be what you want, but it's probably not the best thing to do from the outset, especially if you're setting up the scenario for you to play with the lander to begin with. If you've already got an established base with some defenses on it, then that could be a really fun way to do it. But if you're just starting out, probably give yourself a little bit of a dead zone where there's no drones, so you can get a few resources and get a few things set up before you get that first attack. As always, There is plenty more to come, so I'll see you then.